I often get asked how to delegate effectively. And today we're going to talk about the theory versus practice of effective delegation. So, Laura, delegation, the big D word. When it's done really, really well, it's incredibly powerful and it's a classic win-win situation. But yet, so many people out there I know really kind of struggle with this. And I must admit, certainly in my early career, I struggled with this as well. So the practice versus the theory of delegation. I'm sure you've got some insights you'd like to share with us on this one.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of new managers are terrified to delegate because they feel, I know I certainly did all those years ago. I thought, I have to do everything myself. It's all on me. It's my name over the door. I can't let anybody else do it. I need to do it all. And that's a common mistake that managers make, especially newly promoted or newly qualified managers. They struggle with the delegation. Yeah, the theory and the practice is very different.
Yeah, because in theory it sounds really simple, doesn't
Oh
it?
yeah.
But yeah, we both know that in practice it's more difficult than that because there's other things involved. There's kind of maybe emotions or the potential fear of failure, even though it's not failure. It probably seems like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think the theory is it empowers the team members that you delegate to and frees up your time, and streamlines how the care home, if, in my situation, is run. But it doesn't always work that way because in practice, as you say, it's high pressure environment. There's always something going on. The delegation can become extremely messy, and risky. It could be hindered because you've had two people ring in sick. Someone's going on escort duty to hospital with a resident and your delegation goes out the window. You end up taking it back and doing it yourself anyway. So, understanding the gap between the theory and the practice for a new manager takes a bit of time, getting used to.
Sure. And have you got some insights in terms of at a practical level? How do we as managers delegate really effectively? What insights have you got you'd like to share?
Well, I think, you need to make sure that whatever you're delegating is appropriate to the person you're intending to delegate it to. There's no point in handing a deputy your monthly accounts and say go through them and sort them out because they would panic. It's looking at their strengths, identify the strengths in certain team members. You might have a fantastic housekeeper, for example, who is really, really hot on infection control. Give them the infection control audit to do. You might have a senior who's taking responsibility for all the medications. And I'm talking about care homes here, obviously, because that's my forte. But, why I don't need to physically do a medication audit when I've got a senior and a deputy who are dealing with them day in, day out, and they manage that. So it's things like that, playing to their strengths. Don't put someone under pressure to do something they don't know how to do.
Yeah. So it's about choosing the right person for the right role, I guess. Really, something they've got an interest in, or they've expressed an interest to learn more about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had team members approach me and saying, I know you do all these audits. Is there any I can do? I'm really interested in nutrition and hydration, for example. Yeah, on you go. Give them the tablet and off they pop and do the audit. And it does give you that bit of time. And obviously you're sort of casting your eye over it anyway to make sure that it's done properly and it's not just been ticked. And to be fair, they're often harder on themselves than I would be when they're auditing, their practice. So it's definitely looking for the strengths and don't set someone up to fail.
But yet still, like you say, still can maintain responsibility for it or accountability for it.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, I'm accountable for everything.
Of course.
But they can take responsibility for some of the tasks that I might not need to do myself.
So I'm guessing you'd still be checking in on progress. And by the way, checking in, not checking up. Those two phrases are very, very different, are they? Checking in versus checking up.
Yeah, I wouldn't hang over the shoulder and say, oh, you're not doing that right. I'd go and check, everything okay? How are you managing? Do you need a hand? Great, fantastic. And then when the audit comes back to me, checking it over, make sure everything's been completed. And to be fair, it does work well. And it gives them that bit of autonomy as well. They feel quite important because they've been asked. It wouldn't be the first time I'd asked a resident to audit. And that went down really well. The resident absolutely loved it. I said, will you do me an environment audit? And off he popped with his clipboard and walked around the home. And the feedback was fantastic. So it's using a bit of initiative and saying, oh, well, actually, I don't need to do that. And maybe even the team don't need to do it. If you've got a capable resident to do it, then fine.
That's certainly an interesting twist on it, isn't it? But yeah, I can see how that'd be really valuable.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you've kind of helped develop many people and many teams over the years, and I would imagine that your approach to delegation is perhaps one of those tools in your toolkit, if you like, to build competence and confidence in the people around you.
Definitely. It's something that I use and I identify when I interview people for a role. I'm looking for their strengths and I'm thinking, okay, future senior, future deputy, future manager. Let's build on those strengths. Let's support them to maintain that and improve. And asking them, would you like to take responsibility for X, Y, and Z? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, absolutely, yeah, I'd love to.
And have you found in your career when people have really kind of taken to opportunities to learn new things and you've delegated opportunity to learn, have you found that then created a bit of a ripple effect where other people think, oh, that's really interesting, I wonder if I can do that now? Has it kind of generated that kind of momentum?
Yeah, fairly recently actually, yeah, I asked someone would they do, I think it was a health and safety audit, and one of the other team members came up and said, "Oh, I see you've asked her to do that. Is there something I can do? I'd quite like to do one. What have you got? What can I do?" And it's even things, even just placing orders. Why do I need to go online and place an order for housekeeping equipment? Well, the housekeeper can do that. So it's building their experience and their abilities. And a lot of them were afraid of the electronic systems, but once you show them how to use them, they're like, yeah, this is fine. Yeah. So that's kind of taken quite a lot off my plate and left me able to focus on making sure residents are okay, everything else is up to date and up to standard. So yeah, it certainly has a positive effect.
Feels like a classic kind of win-win situation, really, doesn't it? Where the people in your team are developing their competence and confidence and stepping up, but yet it's also freeing you up to do other things that are adding more value.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's when they've done it and you've seen they've done a fantastic job, they've done really well. It's praising them and saying that was excellent. Would you mind doing it again, or would you like to try something different next time? And I've not had anybody say no. They're all really keen. I've got fairly new starters who have come to me and said, "I've seen some of the team doing some audits. Is there something I can do?" And a fresh pair of eyes coming in to do something like an environment audit or an infection control, or just walking round and giving you a daily walk round audit. A fresh pair of eyes works wonders, because I can walk around 50 times a day and might not see something that's right in front of my face because I'm there all the time, but you get a fresh pair of eyes coming in and they'll spot something that you've just walked past. So it's really good, and it boosts their morale.
And you talk about kind of that win-win situation there, so it's great for them, but it's great for you as well. But and I guess the flip side of it is also if we don't delegate, then what will happen is we perhaps take on too much work. And on the previous episode, for example, we talked about what happens when managers get burnt out, and then we become more isolated, and we repeat that pattern of doing everything, micromanaging. So yeah, there's great reasons to delegate, and there's some really good reasons to make sure that we don't fall into the trap of not delegating, isn't there? There's kind of a push and a pull.
Yeah, and it's quite difficult for a new manager in their first home, for example, and it's their baby. They want everything to be perfect, which it never is. To want to do everything themselves, and it's sitting down with that manager right at the beginning and saying, please don't try to do it all yourself. We've all done it. We've all tried and failed spectacularly. Don't ever be afraid to delegate. Just make sure it's appropriate delegation.
Never be afraid to delegate. I think that's probably a great phrase to bring this conversation to an end. So I guess in terms of takeaways, I think what I'm hearing is that make sure you delegate the right task to the right person. And do it in a way which is not just kind of random, but actually do it on a more consistent basis. So you're starting to create a culture of empowerment and delegation. People are learning new things. They're developing competence and confidence. We've talked about why it's a win-win situation. And we've talked about potential pitfalls if we don't delegate and we kind of get trapped and isolated. So that was very useful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.